Hello, I'm Francesca Spagnoli and I'm the Head of Projects and Capacity Building Program Manager at the European Network of Living Labs. Today, we will discuss about citizen-centric innovation for smart cities in the European Network of Living Labs. Before starting with my lecture, I would like to briefly introduce you what the European Network of Living Lab is. It's a global network of open innovation ecosystems founded in 2006 that places people at the center of product and service development and innovation. Most of our members are European, as you can see from our map in the slide, but we have also good coverage worldwide. ENoLL, which is the acronym of the European Network of Living Labs, has recognized by today nearly 500 living labs from around the world, including municipalities, universities, regions, and companies, acting also as development and piloting partners. ENoLL supports the evolution and the uptake of living lab paradigm throughout Europe and worldwide, contributes to the creation of a dynamic, multi-layer and multidimensional European innovation ecosystem, facilitating the cooperation and the exploitation of synergies between its members and external stakeholders. By putting citizens into the driver's seat, we apply the idea of European Collaboratory. By using the bottom-up methods, we listen what the citizens need, what are their issues, values, and solutions to the problems. This process of elaborating the innovation policy in the European Mature Ecosystem Society is initiated by ENoLL with the potential access to around 15 million citizens across the world continent. This process incorporates also other labs, such as Fab Labs, Learning Labs, City Labs, and etc., as well as the traditional actors of the innovation system. The main common denominator of the Living Lab approach relies on the specific focus on open science and open innovation, driving both industrial and more societal activities for generating innovation on the ground, thus including social innovation. ENoLL has built tremendous expertise in the area of co-creation and action research methods for multi-stakeholder user-centric innovation, and it is placed in an excellent position to explore emerging approaches in a series of 5 special interest groups that we call ENoLL Action-Oriented Task Forces. These are the main entry point for all topics, where ENoLL community is having a leading role. The action-oriented task forces are focused on social innovation and digital rights, the social impact of artificial intelligence, health and well-being, rural living labs, as well as energy and environment. On top of this, we have also created a series of 5 working groups with the aim to provide a clear approach to specific questions alongside the work of the action-oriented task forces. But what is Living Labs? Living Labs refer to user-centered, open innovation ecosystems based on a systematic user co-creation approach integrating research and innovation processes in real-life communities and settings. In practice, Living Labs place the citizens at the center of the innovation and have shown an ability to better mold the opportunities offered by new ICT concepts and solutions to specific needs and aspirations of the local context, culture, and creative potentials. Living Labs share all some common characteristics, by the way, such as active user involvement, multi-stakeholder participation by implementing a multi-method approach in real-life settings to co-create and orchestrate a series of open innovation activities through a quadruple helix ecosystems formed always by governments, companies, universities, research centers, and citizens. Reviewing the literature on Living Labs, Dr. Dimitris Kurman from IMEC Living Labs argued that gathering evidence on Living Lab outcomes should be separated according to how the particular Living Lab initiative is defined. He has then initiated an approach with 3 different kinds of levels into the Living Labs. The macro level, the organizational one, is seen as the Living Lab as an environment that can be evaluated according to collaboration and interaction variables dealing with aspects such as knowledge transfer and the user involvement objective. The micro level, the Living Lab as an approach, can be assessed according to criteria related to the way in which end users and other stakeholders are able to influence the innovation process per se. The meso level, The actual Living Lab projects, however, needs to be assessed primarily as to whether these projects generate value for the innovator from an economic perspective, for example. The ENoLL network aims also to create a sort of pan-European experiments and prototypes for new markets based on the digital single market. It is an open engagement platform where new business models can be co-designed, experimented, and developed, all based on a quadruple helix approach, creating safety nets for experiments and prototypes with new roles of the public sector as enabler and catalyzer. Co-creation should be then seen as a result of the co-design approach implemented by the Living Labs, thanks to the involvement of users and citizens in the whole life cycle of generating innovation, especially within the context of smart cities, where technologies are co-developed to generate a relevant impact on the society. Living Labs all share an integrative process based on design thinking solutions for successfully generating citizen-centric innovation, especially in urban living labs. And we will see just a little bit later what are urban living labs. The integrative process developed by Joel Mastelic and Fiona Zimmerman from HSO Living Lab is focused on the following steps. The first one is the selective practice, so it's mainly focused on empathizing with the stakeholders and is quite connected to the second step, that is integrate the stakeholders. So this empathize phase is focused on analyzing and researching what the context is to understand the socioeconomic and cultural settings, their user behaviors and social practices in the specific context. Then a people-public-private partnership model is used to integrate these stakeholders. It's also important to uncover barriers when we are going into the third step, which we call the definitional step, let's say, where we define what is the community and what are the specific barriers that they're facing, issues, just to try to identify how to solve them in the fourth phase, the ideate phase, where we are building all together with the stakeholders a co-design plan, a common vision, and a series of shared goals that enable to co-design with the users and not just for the users, as in usual ICT development innovation process. Then the final step are 5 and 6, prototype and test. So we pilot an intervention, a real-life experimentation in this specific context, and we evaluate the performance. We measure the impact that is produced in the society, both at socioeconomic level. But more than ever, in smart cities and in living labs, the main question that should guide the co-design process is who is our main target stakeholders, and the difference with living labs compared to usual ICT technological development processes is that we involve citizens and the final users already since day zero for co-creating value to the targeted stakeholders. The term urban lab is also used in different contexts, but we can say that urban living labs is just about opening the city as a site for experimentation. This could go from just a city working with specific companies or researchers allowing testing in the streets, so more kind of a test bed, to the living labs. Urban living labs go a step further and include a real co-creation process and very strongly the user and citizen engagement. This is the main difference. Now I want to show you, after this brief description of the urban living labs, what are our ENoLL case studies for citizen-centric innovation within the smart cities. For the engagement of end users and citizens in the technological experiments in smart cities, a vast number of different methods and tools exist. The challenge is finding the relevant information and selecting the appropriate means for this co-creation process. The U4IoT Living Labs methodology Handbook, for example, provides a real guide to the European IoT large-scale pilots in implementing coherently a Living Lab approach in the citizen-centered co-creation activities at the benefit of European smart cities. This toolkit is available online for free, and it comprises methods and tools that follows the different phases along the innovation process. The purpose of the entire process is that it is followed in an iterative manner. Throughout the journey, the need to jump back and forth between the different phases is very relevant, and it's really focused on real-life experimentation. A relevant consideration with user involvement is also to know who to involve in the different innovation stages. This handbook provides a perfect guideline for selecting users throughout the whole innovation process, and this is why I think it's very relevant. The second example is focused on the Synchronicity large-scale pilot project funded by the European Commission. Starting from the review of the literature on participatory design, co-creation, and open innovation, the paper generated by the Synchronicity project aims to discuss the role of Living Labs in supporting service design for smart cities by providing a real and effective approach for involving stakeholders in real-life experimentation through digital platforms. The analysis focused on timing, when to involve the stakeholders, who are the stakeholders, what are the activities for involving citizens effectively, and finally the rewarding systems, tools, and metrics used to investigate the success of citizen-centered innovation activities within 10 European smart cities in Europe. The guide also provides examples on the implementation of these methods and tools in each specific local context. Out of an interview and also a series of specific questions on a survey, as a result of the study to the 10 different smart cities, Living Lab has resulted as the most used and effective method for the smart cities in the EU for service design in the Synchronicity project. After this work on the Synchronicity, we expanded the research to Urban Living Lab's citizen-centered innovation activities to support urban health, well-being, and livability of smart cities. In fact, ENoLL, in collaboration with the Urbanom recently EC-funded project, has developed a set of guiding principles for driving citizen-centered innovation in urban living labs. This includes the relevance of supporting a broad collaboration among different actors in the local context of a smart city, focusing on ongoing user-centered design, transparency, and trust as relevant values for the stakeholders, value-driven for generating an effective co-creation model, connectivity as one of the main values to drive creativity among different typology of stakeholders within an holistic and iterative approach, and never forget to take advantage of failures. In fact, sharing results inside and outside the local communities for an effective scalability in other cities is very relevant, as one of the most important parts of this process. Also, within Urbanom project, a co-creation flowchart has been developed by us, by the ENoLL team, offering an entry point for practitioners to keep the bigger picture in mind while developing citizen-centric approaches for smart cities or urban living labs. The reader is guided through the various phases and steps of the whole co-creation process, from information, exploration, and inspiration to implementation, commercializations, and evaluation for effective stakeholder engagement. Given that the set of tools to be used for co-creating with citizens are quite wide, for this specific work we have selected only the most innovative and proven to be successful in an urban living lab context, which are reflected in the stickers in the picture that you can see in the slide within the co-creation flowchart. More information about the methodology can be found in the Urbanom Good Practice Guidelines for Setting Up and Managing Urban Living Labs Handbook, available on the project website from January 2022. The last two examples about projects are ENoLL and Cisco. The ENoLL project is contributed to the development of smarter, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable cities through the implementation of a series of nature-based solutions. The ENoLL project offers a concrete example of a series of tools and best practices implemented within the project for developing and promoting the involvement of citizens in different cities around Europe and beyond, including also Turkey. An integrative approach with co-creation workshops in cities, an online co-creation toolkit with a set of methods to be implemented in the workshops with citizens, an urban integrative living lab framework, as well as an handbook and a physical game, and finally a set of trainings have been developed in ENoLL So you can see here how complex sometimes it is to find the effective methodologies for citizen-centric innovation in smart cities, but ENoLL has been proven as an effective project and set of methods and tools to be used in different kind of contexts at the different moments. So I think it's a very good examples of a winning and successful project. Finally, Cisco was also an EU-funded project aimed at stimulating the use of co-creation methodologies in policy design using bottom design-driven methodologies. Cisco has developed a MOOC, open to anyone for free, available online, you can find the link on the slide, in which during 5 weeks participants can learn the basics of how to collaborate directly with the citizens to bridge the gap between society and policy. Cisco experts guide you through the different steps of co-creation methodologies and share their perspective on the future of public administration. Going from the inspirational stories of European-funded projects and effective activities that have been developed by the European Network of Living Labs in this kind of activities, I would like to give you also two inspiration from our Living Labs activities in the cities. Let's start with Hackable City of Things, which is an initiative led by the multinational research center IMEC, based in the Flemish cities or in a series of Flemish cities. In this specific context, Hackable City of Things, focused on the smart city of Antwerp, has been focused on also a series of citizen-driven initiatives and action groups encouraging to shape the smart city of tomorrow. They bring the ideas. IMEC facilitates the implementation by providing technology, data, frameworks, and sensors to constructively hack the city of Antwerp. Smart people is also one of the vital areas for IMEC City of Things. The goal of this activity is to give citizens a crucial role in the applied research into technology and innovation. Indeed, citizens are invaluable research partners who can test and assess the solutions in the real world. This close collaboration between researchers, local residents, businesses, and authorities makes the research for tech-based solutions for the city of tomorrow more efficient, relevant, and dynamic. IMEC uses tried and tested user research methodologies along with a wide range of other tools such as surveys, practical field tests, co-creation activities, and feedback sessions. So as you can see here again, a whole integrative approach, not just one single method or tool can fit for all. With Hackable City of Things also, IMEC went one step further. The citizens themselves were considered as the owners of the ideas and the solutions. Their fresh view on the smart city of tomorrow ensured that the innovations they proposed addressed real and effective social needs, helping to improve the quality of life of the citizens of Antwerp. So I think it's a very successful result achieved, and you can find, of course, more information on the links included in the slides. The second and final inspirational story from our Living Labs that I would like to show you today is an initiative that is quite fresh and new for citizen-centric innovation. And it's called Living Labs for Energy Decarbonization, which develops and operates a series of challenging and inspiring activities to promote technological and social innovation through a public-private-people partnership, transferring knowledge on co-designing solutions using open innovation and design thinking methods. Living Labs for Energy Decarbonization, in fact, wants to challenge the culture of how energy decarbonization projects are created and developed, starting from a real bottom-up approach instead of a governmental top-down approach. This is in fact done for innovating with citizens and experimenting in real-life settings in a series of cities in Switzerland. The Living Lab is open to anyone who would like to contribute to this specific environmental challenge, which is of course quite effective and relevant within the context of climate change and adaptation. So this is quite a new initiative, but I think it's also very interesting to see the difference from the Hackable side of things, which was already quite closed and effective and successful, and the new one where you can also have your say and you can contribute to improve the activities of the citizen-centric innovation within this urban living lab in Switzerland. I hope that this lecture has been interesting for you. This was my last slide, and we will talk soon in the Google platform. Thanks.